Welcome to all Caribbean entrepreneurs. If you've been ready and waiting to take your business digital and get paid online while you sip something strong on the beach, this podcast is for you. We'll hear from the Caribbean's finest entrepreneurs on topics like e-commerce, business development, brand building, social media, their wins and failures. This is the only place in the region helping you navigate the digital age from the Caribbean's perspective. This is Digipreneur FM. And now, let's give it up for the Digiboss himself, Mr. Karan Rose.
Thank you to everybody tuning in to another episode of the Digipreneur FM podcast. And as usual, it is your host, Mr. Rose. DJ, you know what to do. Fade us all the way out. DJ, fade us all the way out. We gotta talk to the people. July 13th, Wednesday. This is episode number 85. Good people of the Digipreneur FM family. Excuse me. How are you doing? I've been under the weather the past couple of days, and I'm now getting out of it. So I was supposed to drop another episode last week, and I just came down with a sore throat, head cold, and was just laid up from Thursday over the weekend. I managed to do radio on Friday, but it took like a lot out of me to do that. And I was like, you know what? When your body says rest, you rest. And then I came and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do an episode yesterday. And then I had a home emergency where for some reason, we had a leak. And it started to flood out the house. So that was a whole anyway, we ain't even here for that, but we are here. First episode of the week. I usually like to drop 2 episodes a week, and I always try to get that first one out on Tuesday. That kind of just sets the tone for me. And then depending on how the rest of the week unfolds, Thursday or Friday is when that second episode will drop, depending on, what our schedule is looking like, right? So, this, I tell you, I'm just looking at the date again, and I can't believe we are halfway through July. 2022 really has been moving. It's like it's been on fast forward, and I don't know. I don't know what's going on with 2022, but it just feels like this is one of the fastest flowing years that I can recall. But it's really been good. It's really been good. I really can't complain. This year kind of started off a little shaky for me, but I think after we shook off the heebie-jeebies, the bad vibes in the first couple of weeks, it's been all gas, no brakes. And it's just been really amazing as I sit back and I kind of reflect on, how 2022 has been going. Man, I really can't complain. I do feel like everything that I have written down, to come up with some kind of plan, I can't really say much has been going to plan. It's been exceeding the plans. And I hope that's the same for you. I hope 2022 has been that year of growth and development that you have needed to take things to the next level. For me on this end, I can honestly say that I have been given every single opportunity to take things to the next level, and I am not wasting or squandering any opportunity. I want it all. I want all the smoke. And I want to start off this episode with some amazing news. I want to start off this episode with some amazing news. So, I want to announce something pretty big. And that is that I have officially joined the advisory panel for the digital marketing program at the University of South Florida. And this means so much because for my professional development, being in the room with the other panel members, our job is to essentially review the digital marketing program over at University of South Florida. We go through the program. We're able to do case studies to contribute to the program and to contribute to the university. We're going to be able to network with companies, because essentially the people that are going that take the program is companies, executives, and some really, really big and interesting companies will send their employees over to fulfill the program. All right. So essentially what South Florida is doing is, because they know that the digital marketing landscape is changing so rapidly, right? They've figured out a kind of a way to try to keep up to date with the program. So they have a panel that they've brought in from experts from around the world, that they review the program, they contribute to the program, they work with students, and because we are constantly bringing our knowledge and we review the program multiple times for the year, we are able to, help the university make changes to the program as best as you can. Because remember, right, with education, when you make the curriculum is essentially supposed to be set. But when you are in a field where things can change at any given second, rendering your plan or things you're teaching obsolete, it's very hard for a university, especially universities in North America, because their curriculums are approved by the Senate. So making changes is really hard for them when they set that curriculum, right? So to kind of combat the speed of change and with how things, are moving so quickly in the digital marketing space, they have this advisory panel. We meet multiple times. We're contributing to the program, and they're able to make tweaks and changes as they go along to ensure that, the program is as up to date as it could possibly allow, given all of the constraints of tertiary education. So I definitely commend them. For me, this is just another amazing opportunity to, again, network, contribute, expand my knowledge. I'm good. Like, people that I'll be in the rooms with and meeting with, I know are going to, be a big part of my next level, and all of that information and connections that I get, I'm bringing right back to the Caribbean. So this is huge. When I got the call and I had the meeting and then I seen the offer letter, I was like, wow, all right. It's amazing that your local focus, and I say this all the time to people, you really should have a local focus and learn how to build that global reach. And it's important because we have people all over the world that are doing their research, and every market is different, right? Look how many countries we have in the Caribbean, and every single culture is different. All of our problems are different. Sure, we have some similar problems, but the majority, how our cultures are changes, our approach that we would need to solve a lot of the problems that we are dealing with. So everywhere in the world is unique, and everybody is constantly scouring the world to see how are different countries, how are different markets solving certain problems, right? What are they talking about? What are the conversations over there? What can we take from those countries or those cultures and bring back to ours. And local focus, global reach is huge, and it's really important because for the most part, here in the Caribbean, I see most professionals are constantly trying to make universal content, or they're trying to make content and get noticed by U.S. companies, because ultimately most people either want to migrate over to the U.S. or they want to get employed by the U.S., by U.S. companies. So they're constantly making universal content or U.S. content so that they can appease that market, all right? And yes, you're going to get noticed, but it also puts you in competition with the other experts in that industry. Remember, the universal information, there's only so much people can take from it, right? Because it has to be very generalized. It has to be very generalized. And that content you're putting out doesn't allow you to go deep because you're trying to be so generalized, right? But when you focus on all of the problems that you have in your market, and you dive into those problems, and you show solutions as to how you are solving those problems, people from outside can look at what you are doing and take information from it. And then they're even more intrigued with what you're doing because, again, the problems are different and they're interested, all right? I'll give you a great example. So I recently completed the e-commerce mastery certification program from Digital Marketer. And Digital Marketer is one of the top institutions in the world certifying marketing reps all over the world, right? It just so happened that while completing it, I was the very first person to complete it, right? So they made the announcement. I was able to have, some amazing conversations with the program creators, the co-founder of the company, and a few notable people within the organization, right? We had some amazing conversations. And when I was talking with the program creator, he asked me, what was your thoughts on the program? What was your big takeaways? And in that conversation, I was telling him, my big takeaway was that as much as e-commerce is universal, there are so many nuances that affect the strategy. And I was telling him that, a big part of e-commerce is obviously, having a website, being able to sell online. And another big part of it is email marketing, right? There's protocols and funnels that, email marketing is big within e-commerce, right? And I was just breaking down that, we're still at a phase Caribbean wide where most businesses still don't understand the value of a website. And they don't understand the value of a website because there's not many people teaching them, or there's not many places you can go to learn about how a website helps your business grow, right? And then when you add in the fact that e-commerce, for the most part, when you remove companies like a WePay, for example, or Fagaro, that haven't been around long, e-commerce wasn't accessible and wasn't affordable for most businesses. So they never saw it as an ROI. And then because getting information from the banks on e-commerce and how to, turn their website into an e-commerce friendly website, getting information from them has been pulling teeth. We have all these problems that just deterred businesses from ever getting a website. So I was basically saying, a lot of my teaching is teaching people the value of a website, how to build their websites, how e-commerce works. And we got to do all of this work before we even get to talking about email marketing. I'm like, email marketing isn't big amongst businesses across the Caribbean. And when I'm explaining all of this, everybody's in shock. They're like, what do you mean people don't use email? I'm like, no, it's not that people don't use email. We use email. It's that when a business doesn't have a website, and they're not creating content, they're not driving traffic anywhere. So they're damn sure not driving traffic to no emails, right? They're still trying to push and leverage Facebook and Instagram. But then we don't even have the e-commerce tools enabled on any social media platform to do e-commerce. So listen, when I broke down all of the nuances of e-commerce in the Caribbean, the program director was shocked. He was like, "What?" I thought e-commerce is universal. I'm like, yeah, it's universal, but the nuances, right? So, I'm like, most people would take this course from the Caribbean and wouldn't even know where to begin. And the people, and I mean, yes and no to that. Let me kind of dive into that real quick before we get into today's topic. The people who know about the e-commerce course would know enough that they know that they would have to get a website and right? And they would not need too much convincing. But the average business owner, wouldn't even know where to start. And so there's so many nuances. And again, doing the course, speaking with the program directors, giving them, how things are within our region and the different strategies that I've had to employ to educate on e-commerce and marketing and whatnot. I told them straight up, like, that was my biggest takeaway. My biggest takeaway is, again, just kind of seeing where you guys are and seeing, how I would need to tweak how I teach and what I bring to the entire region, all right? So I'm glad that, with Digital Marketer, I've met with the program directors and the owners, and, I've just been able to open that door and have those conversations with them because, again, they're one of the top institutions in the world for marketing. And, now being able to join the University of South Florida's panel, the advisory panel, for the marketing program is huge because, again, it's just going to teach me more, and it's going to, help sharpen my skills. And also they're very interested in, how marketing and e-commerce and things like that is done in the Caribbean. And, again, I'll be adding that perspective to the pot, and we'll see how that works, right? Because, again, it's executives from all over the world. So I'm just all around excited for these new developments. But, again, that's crazy. So today's topic I wanted to dive into is, are marketing agencies effective in the Caribbean? Are marketing agencies effective in the Caribbean? Now, this topic and this idea started from, I did an event, the Digimark event, about a week ago. And listening to the agency partners who there represented, shout outs to all of them. Also reading a book I'm reading right now, The New Rules of Marketing and PR. Reading that, it so happened that on the morning I was going to Digimark, I was reading a chapter where the author was basically saying that, how things have changed, marketing agencies are not really needed anymore. Or at least advertising agencies are not needed anymore. The people who are coming up with, the jingles and, people who just want to create ads for you and whatever, right? He doesn't feel like it's needed anymore because the times have just changed so much, right? And then that further cemented, or this idea, about our marketing agencies effective in the Caribbean was further cemented when I recently had an interview on air with TikToker Zach Bermudez. And when we were talking, we're on air, we're doing the interview, and we're talking. And he was just like how, when businesses reach out to him, they want ads, right? They say, hey, here's our product. We want an ad, or we want a skit around the ad. But it's still an ad. You're still, pushing the product. You're just trying to, be cute about it, right? And then right after the meeting, right after the interview, I started to talk to one of my friends who works in an agency, and she's like, yeah. And they're like, yeah, I'm over it. They're like, I'm leaving. And I'm like, I laughed. I'm like, why are you leaving? And they're like, because an agency isn't set up to actually help clients, right? Or at least how it is in the Caribbean, right? Now, my friend also works at the number one agency in the entire country. It's the biggest agency in it's the biggest agency in Trinidad and Tobago, all right? The biggest one. So I'm here thinking, again, the conference, the book, the interview, conversation with my friend, and then I end up speaking to another agency friend. And they shared similar sentiments, but, that's their job, so they ain't just going to go up and leave it, right? But agencies, to me, can no longer be effective in its current form. And let's break that down. The way marketing is today, you need to do a couple of things to find success online. Number one, you need to build a community, right? You need to learn how to build a community around your business. People are not going onto social media to buy. They're going to be entertained. They're going to learn. They're going to be a part of the community. And what happens with agencies? Agencies are not focused. They're not built to build community. The agencies are built to advertise your products and do that as best as they can. And so even when I'm listening to the agency presentations at Digimark, they really specialize in paid ads, getting your product out there, doing paid campaigns. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Because you do need paid ads, especially in this game where everything is pay to play. But if that's all you can do, then we have a problem. All right? The second thing that agencies need to do to be effective, but they can't do, is they have to know their clients inside and out. Because now we're in the age of content. We don't want ads. We just straight up don't want ads. And what kills me is, every time you ask ad specialists, when's the last time you watched an ad? People are like, yeah, man, I don't watch ads. We don't watch ads. We watch content. And if that content is a part of a paid campaign to boost the reach, that's great. That's dope. But we're not here going on social media to see sale, 5 glasses for the price of 1. Like, we're not here to see that. Not on social media. So because agencies need to know their clients inside and out, it becomes a problem because guess what? They don't have just one client. If an agency had 1 to 3 clients, then they can get to know those clients inside and out. To me, that max number of clients is like 3. 4 if you have enough staff and your team is well managed. But I don't think an agency should have more than 4 clients in today's day and age because of how intimate you need to know your client. Right now, the best marketing comes from having a well-built internal team because your internal team is a part of your organization. They are going to know everything about the company. They're in the company. They're in the company. They know the products. They know the service. They know everybody in all the departments. They could liaise with the departments to create content. And then they could push to get user-generated content. But they intimately know the company. An agency cannot intimately know the company. Now, why does that become a problem? It becomes a problem because in order for the agencies to be profitable, they got to have more clients. They got to take on more clients. And the more and more clients they take on, they no longer care about understanding the company. And what they turn out is graphics, artwork, jingles, that type of thing to put on social media. And that's not the only place they're putting it, but predominantly it's going on social media. And it just doesn't get the reach that it can, which then forces them to spend more money in your ads to interrupt people's scroll to get it in front of their eyeballs. But if we are just actively trained to ignore ads, then what is the point? There's better ways to spend this money. And the agencies are not cheap. The agencies are not cheap. Now, another reason why agencies aren't effective in the Caribbean is because the people that they are working with. Listen, you wouldn't believe, right? In the 2 conversations I've had recently, and also in the past, one of the biggest complaints from the agency side is that the people they are working with in marketing, in the companies, they themselves do not know their own products or services. So if the people internally, and again, this is why I have to say Caribbean, because I've heard this right here in Trinidad multiple times. I've heard this in Jamaica, right? You have people who don't know their own products or services inside of the organization. And because they don't know their own products or services and they are the liaisons with the agency, how is the agency ever going to effectively do their job? Fun story. One of the agency strategists got a brief from a company as to what campaign they're working on or what they're looking to do a campaign on. They got the necessary information from the company. They then turned it into the presentation that they needed to turn it into, sent it back over to the company. And when they were liaising with the head of marketing, and this is why this is scary, right? They were liaising with the head of marketing to get all of the information. Created the campaign elements, sent it all back to the same head of marketing who they got all the information from, who they're taking the direction from. The head of marketing goes to present to the team and the board, and somebody in the meeting puts their hands up and says, "Hey, head of marketing, this information, that product that you are talking about and that you've built this campaign around, we that went end of life almost 12 months ago." And because the head of marketing was so embarrassed, you know what he did? He went after the meeting, called, and cursed out the agency that they misled him. And they were like, "How could we mislead you? You are the one who told us what to do. You provided all the information. We are the agency. We don't know your company. All we do is take the information you give us and turn it into what you want, for what you are planning to use it for." And it was the audacity for that person, for that head of marketing, to try to curse out the agency and put the blame on them. And to me, it was funny because the agency was like, How are we supposed to know this? Like, we're not in your company. We don't know your products and services. So you see where I'm going with this. It is very hard for a agency, especially in the Caribbean, to be effective. And because these agencies cost a lot of money, the ROI is to me isn't there. To me, it's just not there. Companies would be better off with building their own internal marketing team, getting a dope digital strategist on the team, having somebody that specializes in paid ads, because remember, they're outsourcing a lot of the stuff to the agencies so that they can get graphics, so that they can do the paid ads, the paid campaigns and whatnot. But it's just not effective. And all we really see as a consumer is ads. Ads that we bypass rather than content, rather than information that really educates us. So when people, and the reason why this is important is because we are always talking about why we don't have Caribbean information from these institutions. So if you want to learn about e-commerce, if you want to learn about the product offerings that all these companies have, you want to be educated. You want to see scenarios. You want to see case studies. You want to see how these things work. You want to be baby step through the content to see how these things work. And the reason why you don't get it is because almost all of these institutions, if not all of them, all the financial institutions, all of the companies that, are in the payment space and whatnot, they all outsource to agencies. When you're thinking about getting information from the government bodies, like you name it, the biggest companies, the reason why we don't get information is because they've outsourced everything to the agencies, and the agencies are not creating content. They are creating ads. They are doing paid ads to get your product out there, but we don't get information. In my presentation at Digimark, one of the things I did was I showed a case study. I showed 2 examples of me looking for information on insurance. And nowhere can information be found because why? The insurance agents and the insurance companies, nobody is putting out information. All they do is put out ads. And so it's hard for us, the consumers, to get information on things when nobody is producing content and producing content on platforms that allow us to do our research on our own time. If you don't have a website, if you're not producing content, then how are we going to get information when we're doing research? The number one place anybody goes to do research is Google. Google indexes your websites. You as the business need to be doing the market research to see what are people looking for in our industry, and then create the necessary content to answer all of the questions and problems so that when we jump on Google and we type in things like, why is insurance important? We get information from you, the company. But all we ever get is information from other countries, and for the most part, it's irrelevant to our market. So this is why this is a big problem. If all of our government bodies, if the biggest companies are all outsourcing their marketing efforts to agencies, and agencies are just taking on more and more clients, and all they're producing is ads, and nobody's actually producing content. The companies don't have a digital strategist on board to say, hey, we need a website, or hey, we need to be producing web content to appear here, there, and everywhere. this is what we need to be producing. If nobody is doing that with these companies, then we are always going to be stuck, because getting information to do anything in the Caribbean is one of the hardest things. It's one of the hardest things. Think about it. Whenever you go searching for things, when you're in the Caribbean, or maybe you're in the diaspora, maybe you're outside of the Caribbean and you're trying to do research to get something done. You're probably thinking about doing business in the Caribbean. You're probably thinking about moving to the Caribbean. And you go online, you do research. And again, and this is the thing, people in the Caribbean need to realize that it's not just people in your country looking for information. You have people outside of the Caribbean region who are trying to do research for things in the Caribbean, products, services, business, whatever. They might be trying to visit. They might be trying to do business. They might be trying to move here. And because nobody is producing content to facilitate the information, we have problems. It's not like we could call the organizations and pick up the phone and get information, because the majority of y'all don't answer the phone. Or we got to wait an hour to speak to you. And if you produced more content answering the things that people want to know within your space, that would reduce the amount of calls your organization gets. Because now people can Google it. And we have a bad habit in the Caribbean, and this is how a lot of misinformation gets put out there. Because the institutions are not putting out information, and not on social media, because remember, social media is not indexable. Because the organizations don't have their websites and are putting out information and don't understand SEO. And if you don't understand SEO, then your stuff is not going to pop up when people are searching for it. Right? This is how misinformation spreads. Because guess what? The behavior is that people are going to jump on social media and ask the question and get led down the wrong path. I've seen so many situations, even within my space, where I get tagged for things on social media. And I keep thinking to myself, I'm like, why are you guys asking these questions on social media? Why wouldn't you just Google first? But they don't Google first because they haven't changed that behavior. They know that when they're looking for information regarding the Caribbean, the information is never there. So it's just bad habit that rather than try to Google the information first, they throw the question on social media. And then when you read the response, 90% is garbage. 90% is misinformation. 90% of the responses are misinformation. You might have that one or two people who come with the real information, but then remember, they're competing with the other 90%. And that person now has to decipher what is real from what is fake. So to combat a lot of the misinformation that goes around on social media, you as the business, you as the institution, needs to understand why you should have your website, why you should be producing content, why you should be doing market research every single week and monitoring exactly what people want in your space and produce the content and get it out there on platforms that allow for search. Don't just whip up a static image and post it on Instagram thinking people are going to see it, because chances are, if all you do is post static images, well, guess what? The algorithms on the social platforms are already burying that. You see why you have to understand how the social media platforms work, why you need to understand digital distribution, because you're going against all these elements. And if people don't see your posts, then this is why the agencies are going to continue to make money, because they need ad money. And they're going to boost your ads. But then we ignore the ads and you don't get the return that you should be getting. So this is why this topic as to why, or this question as to, why marketing agencies aren't effective in the Caribbean is a very important one, because it's contributing to a lot of the misinformation that we see. It's contributing to us ignoring the companies and the ads that they're putting out. And the companies themselves are not keeping up with how marketing and PR has changed in today. It's about speed now. It's about creating content. It's about being searchable, being in the places that people are doing their research and getting your information and content out there to be found the second somebody is conducting a search within your space. These are some basic principles as to how every company, from the smallest to the biggest companies, needs to make that shift. Because if all you are doing is creating ads and working with the agency to create ads and then boost the ads, then you're doing everybody a disservice, because you're not properly able to service your audience. And we continue to run into these problems of misinformation. So, to me, agencies in the Caribbean need to transform. They need to figure out a different way to do things. I think an agency should not have more than 3 clients, because they need to intimately know the organizations they are working with. The marketing people, the marketing departments, the liaisons in the companies need to do a much better job as to learning their own stuff, because when you are not responsible for the marketing and the PR of the company, and you guys are giving out bad info and bad details to the agencies, they're not going to produce good work. They can't. They don't know your company. So that whole arrangement needs to change. Will it change anytime soon? Of course not. It won't change anytime soon. The marketing agencies have contracts with a lot of these companies. But I do hope that somebody has a bright idea to start thinking about content first, start challenging the agencies to do better work and to not just produce ads. But then again, the people within the organizations themselves need to understand digital too. They need to upgrade their own skill sets so that they could understand digital. Marketing, PR, sales, all of that has changed. The consumers have changed. How we go about getting our information has changed, and how you are delivering your information, if you are delivering information at all, is piss poor. So, thought we should have that conversation. I know both sides of the coin are listening in. And again, even if you are a business owner yourself, this conversation is important for you too, because you might have been thinking about at some point hiring an agency. And this is going to give you some insight as to whether or not you should. I don't think you should. I think you can do this within your business with some dedicated focus and just learning, the customer value journey and learning about the different components that you need. And you'll be better off in the long run. You'll be much better off in the long run if you can do the marketing and PR internally, because ultimately you guys know your products and services, and you can build that community. And when you can build that community, when you can create content, when you can educate your audience, teach them, show them how their lives are better with your products, your services, when you guys are talking and educating about the industry that you are in, and it doesn't matter what industry you are in, everybody can educate, everybody can entertain and find ways to do it. if you guys, whatever industry you are in, if you're in construction, contracting, sewing, like if you guys actually just jump on Google and type in your industry and then type in podcast, you're going to see hundreds of podcasts within your space. Listen to a couple of them. You will see how everybody, doesn't matter the industry or the topic, everybody is educating. Everybody is finding their angle to educate and to entertain, but most importantly, to build that community and edify people within their space. All right? So that's it from me for episode 85. Are agencies in the Caribbean effective? Are agencies in the Caribbean effective? To me, no. It needs to completely change. And I look forward to seeing that. Right? If you guys enjoyed today's podcast episode, don't forget to like and review the podcast. Please, the reviews help grow the Digipreneur podcast. And don't forget to rate the podcast, right? Don't forget to hit the stars, especially if you're over on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Don't forget to rate the podcast. Those help greatly grow the podcast and lets me know how I'm doing as well, right? If you are not following me over on social media, I'm over at Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter at Keron Rose, KeronRosc, right? Follow me over on any platform that you guys choose. Don't forget to check out the KeronRose.com website to learn more about building your digital presence and monetizing your platforms. And don't forget to check out the digipreneur.fm website to stay up to date on all things podcasts. On all things happening within the podcast. Every single Thursday in the TT Newsday, we have the Digipreneur column, so you guys could look out for that every single Thursday. And every single Friday from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m., myself and the great Samantha Best host the Digital World. We speak all about online business, digital business, entrepreneurship. We interview experts around a variety of topics. And this Friday on the, This Friday on the 15th, we're going to be hosting Allison DeMaz, who is the CEO of Media Insight. And we're going to be talking about traditional media and digital media and how to leverage both. Now, her company tracks everything happening within traditional media, all right? And also digital media, and they work with businesses to track their impressions, their sentiments, a bunch of things, right? From a traditional and a digital landscape. So we're going to be learning about, how businesses could use both, how they could leverage both, why both traditional and digital is important now more than ever. So we're going to be diving into all of that this Friday on Freedom 106.5, the Digital World. If you're not in Trinidad and Tobago, you guys can actually go to the Freedom 106.5 website. Just Google Freedom 106.5, and that will take you to the live stream link, and you guys can watch that. That's 12 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time to 3 p.m. That conversation should be really good. That is it for me today, folks. Enjoy the rest of your week. Happy Hump Day, and take care.
You've been listening to the Digiboss, Keron Rose. We hope your notepad was filled after this episode. Make sure to like, rate, and review the show. The learning doesn't stop, folks. And to make sure you don't miss any gems from the Digiboss, go over and follow him on all social media platforms at Keron Rose. Folks, don't just sit there with a notepad. We need you to implement at least one thing into your business before the next episode. That's the only way your business levels up. Thanks for listening to Digipreneur FM. Now go be great.